Friends, we've got our giant stock pot out and it is time to start working on a big batch of venison pasta sauce. Come join me in the kitchen. So friends, I hope that you guys had a wonderful holiday. I know we had a nice quiet holiday, just sitting around, reflecting, remembering good times. Can't complain, it was a great time. No big parties, no big craziness, just us as a family hanging out, and I'm really grateful for it. It's exactly what the soul needed this year. So we're not quite at New Year's yet. We're almost done with the year, but before this year's out, I want to do one more canning project. So today I'm going to I have like 2.5 to almost 3 pounds of ground venison meat that I'm going to be cooking up in this pot, and we're going to be turning into some beautiful pasta sauce that I'm going to be canning up on in quart jars, so we have for future use. These guys are the perfect size for our family to just kind of drop and go along. I'm all about making this next year as easy as possible moving forward. I don't necessarily want to spend the whole year sitting in the kitchen. So if I have a few things set, ready to go, I'm making things easier. That's part of my New Year's resolution. So I'm getting started with that early to make sure I'm coming into New Year's ready to go. So let's get started on making this amazing pasta sauce. So friends, when you're out there doing your shopping and you're gonna buy olive oil for cooking, make sure that you're purchasing something like this. This is a Filippo Berrio olive oil, but it says, if you notice, it says for sauteing and grilling. What's the difference there? That means that this one can be heated up and it's not going to have a super strong flavor. The other ones, like an extra virgin olive oil, means that it's from the first press. It's going to be more delicate and it's not going to taste the same when you go to heat it up to cook and all that stuff. I know we get really used to using the extra virgin olive oil, but make sure you're purchasing the one that says for sauteing and grilling. It makes a world of difference. So we've got our ground deer meat here and it's so beautiful. This is such precious meat. So much hard work goes into this. So we are gonna just use this up and make something really delicious. Got the pan heating up. We're gonna get it in there and get it sauteing. So while that meat is browning, we're gonna get our vegetables ready to go. I've got 2 onions here. I'm using white onions. You can use an onion of your choosing. That's the best part about doing things like this yourself, is that you can decide exactly what it is that you want to use. Flavor is yours. So I just kind of cut it in half and then into quarters. Again, I'm just trying to help out that food processor. Whew. So, my God, why do onions have to do that? So we have 2 whole onions going into the food processor. I'm going to put in 2 bell peppers. Just kind of chop them up into the same, more or less size. Oh, those are ripe onions. Good grief. I should probably consider sharpening my knives. Okay, we're gonna pulse this now. Make it nice and fine. Last two things that are going to go in here, garlic. I'm putting in a couple good handfuls. So we're looking at roughly, I don't know, 12, 15 cloves in there. Okay. And then a pint of baby bella mushrooms. So I washed them. You want to wash them if you're going to use them right away, because I don't like dirt in my food. Then this is what you want, kind of like a mealy texture. If I would have done this by hand, totally possible to do it, but I would have been here for a lot longer. And since this has to simmer for a while, I want to get going as quickly as I can. Okay. So this is all ready. It's going to set aside and wait for that meat to finish browning, and then we can add it in. So now that the meat is nice and browned like that, we can go in with our vegetables. And those veggies will help deglaze the bottom of that pan, get all the beautiful brown bits up. Now that we've added the vegetables, we're going to add a lot of salt, like a good heaping amount of salt. Pepper. We're going to add some onion powder. Even though we've added onions, we want to add a good amount of this. Some garlic powder. Again, it's a different flavor profile. We're going to add a little bit of dried Italian seasoning. And then we're going to add a little bit of chicken bouillon. If I had beef bouillon, I would add that in, but I'm out. So we're going to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of chicken bouillon. Stir that in. And let that cook. We're going to add some tomato paste. I add about 8 ounces of tomato paste. And we're going to let that melt down into it. Get nice and brown and toasty. So friends, once this is nice and pasty and you see all that crusty stuff at the bottom, we're going to pick all of that up because all of that's flavor. And it's totally optional at this point. But I'm going to add half a bottle of red wine. Some more. Now that our wine has reduced down, we're going to add our tomato sauce. And I'm going to reduce the heat. So friends, I'm canning up this sauce into quart jars. Feel free to use a pint jar, whichever one works best for your family and for your canner. I also wanted to touch on the fact that this sauce looks a little bit thin. I do that on purpose because a lot of the times I'm using this sauce for something like lasagna. And since I make my noodles from scratch at home, I also don't re-boil my lasagna noodles. I bake them raw with the sauce. So I like a thinner sauce and I like to cook my noodles in the sauce. So I always make it just a little bit thinner, then add the sauce, finish cooking the noodles in the sauce. So it is a little bit thinner than you would normally see from a store-bought jarred sauce. But also when I buy, or I used to buy in the past, the store-bought jarred pasta sauce, I would always thin it out just a little bit. So we're back to the whole concept of you're doing something that works best for you for the way you cook for your family.
That's why we're going through this whole process and doing all of this. It works so well and it makes life easier in the future. And that's an exercise that I'm doing now is making sure that if I'm making this, I'm taking out a step that I have to do later on, which is by watering down the sauce a little bit so that it works for my recipes. This is ready to go for me 100%. If you wanted a thicker sauce, you would cook it a little bit longer, let it reduce down so you end up with the finished product that you feel most comfortable working with. But other than that, speaking on preferences, again, let's touch on canners. Now, canners, there's different varieties out there. There's electric, there's the manual pressure canners, and they are fantastic. I would love to one day have the courage to have one of the really large manual canners, but I haven't built up the courage for that. I don't even have one of those manual pressure cookers to cook with in the house. I never have. I'm just terrified of them. It's a personal thing. But I always work with an electric pressure cooker and I have an electric pressure canner. And I love it. It's a Nesco brand. I can link it down below if you guys are interested in checking it out. It works for me. It does small batches and it's great. Um, I love it. It works really good. I'm also going to touch on this as well. Even if you think your jars are perfectly clean, always take a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel or a rag and just give it a good wipe, making sure that there's no fat or anything, any kind of stickiness if you're working with jams before you place your lids and get them ready for the canner. It's important. I've skipped this step before and I end up losing jars out because it doesn't seal properly. Just taking that precaution of doing that on there and making sure that your jar lids are finger tight, not like cranked down super hard, but finger tight. And these guys are ready now.
So, friends, this was a labor of love that my future self is going to absolutely feel so excited about. These jars are done, they've canned and they've cooled, so now I can remove the lid, the bands, keep the lids on, and I can label them. They are amazing jars of pasta sauce that I can use for lasagnas, for spaghetti, whatever the case may be. It's going to be great. Thank you so much for joining me. Try this out whenever you have the chance because I think it's great. Do the research on the kind of pressure canner that you're looking for. Mine is an electric one. It does 4 quart jars at a time, so I ended up with 12, and that was 3 different batches. Now, they are very different, the electric pressure canners versus the manual ones. The electric ones, you kind of set it, leave it alone, you don't have to tend to it. The manual ones that you set over a fire will hold more cans depending on the size that you get it, but you still have to be there and watch it constantly. So you're kind of trading in size for, I want to say peace of mind, but it's not really peace of mind because you kind of have to like, yeah, comfort would be a good one. Thank you. Yeah, comfort, because you're not really sitting there watching it 24 hours a day. For instance, I would set a batch of these and put the canner outside so I'm not hearing the kind of like exhaust that it gives off, that sound that it makes, and I don't have to smell anything. It's just out there, and I keep an eye on it from the window, so it works out really well for me. But again, I'm doing multiple batches instead of just one. Although I feel like I still, even with the manual canner, would have had to do multiple batches because this is a lot. 12 quarts of venison pasta sauce. Who can go wrong with that? I think it's going to go great. Thank you for being a part of this. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, so grateful for all the love and attention that I get. Thank you again and again. You guys take care of yourselves and each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments down below. Have a good one.